Well, good evening. I understand that there may be some questions that you want to pose to me, so we'll just start with maybe we'll just see a show of hands, and we'll just maybe I'll try to address each one of them. So yes, ma'am, you're up.
Yeah, I was wondering, with these statewide goals, how do they map onto, local school districts? Do you set kind of targets for each district, or I guess how do you effectuate these big statewide goals on a local level?
Yeah, so what we'll do is provide each district with where they stand in relation to the best in nation metrics so that they'll have some sense of what work they need to do to allow us as an entire state to get to the best in nation. Now, some of these goals they already have. Right, so every district right now can tell you where they stand with regards to their graduation rate. Right, they can tell you, likely, where they stand with things like advanced placement, performance, and participation. But there may be others where they don't have that information, and we want to be, or haven't elevated it, and so we want to be sure to provide that information to them. We'll have lots of conversations as we work with districts then to get us to best in nation. Great.
Out of your 8 goals, tell me which one do you think will be the most challenging to accomplish by 2030?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I actually haven't thought of, I haven't thought about it that way, right? And so, because in my mind, all of them are achievable. So as we went through each of them, you could really begin to see that in some ways we're not that far off from being best in nation already. And so we can get there as long as all of us do the work to make it happen. And so that's a great question. I'll have to give some thought as to whether there's one that I would say is more challenging than any of the others.
Well, I know,
and not another great question, but go ahead.
When you say competitive compensation,
yeah.
Revering public school educators, talk to me about that because right now there's still no budget, no raises. So here the teachers are hearing you say we have to revere educators, but when they look at their paycheck, it's still the same because I guess I don't want to say people don't revere, so how do you navigate that goal when still no pay raise for teachers?
Yeah, so I think that's an important question to fully appreciate, and that's why I say it's going to take all of North Carolina to make it happen, including the General Assembly. So there are many places we can say, well, we need more resources, and certainly we do, but one of the things that we're going to try to do is help narrow the focus on the sorts of things that they need to focus on in the General Assembly. And at the top of that list, as you can look in the strategic plan, the one thing that we elevate is actually educator compensation. And so that's how we're going to try to help us get to that better compensation for them. We're not, and in this regard, I want to be really clear, not trying to get to best in nation with compensation. We're trying to get to best in the Southeast with regards to compensation because we feel like that is sort of a more reasonable and more aligned, if you will, goal to, sort of our cost of living is to compare us to the other states right around us. And so that's where we're headed. I fully also appreciate that, teachers have heard this song before. Educators have heard this song before about needing more compensation, and we haven't had it happen, right? And so we know that this is going to be a challenge. We are trying to talk with General Assembly members as often as we can about this particular issue. A couple of them were with me earlier today, and I tried to be sure that folks understood this is the thing that they need to focus on. At the same time, reverence includes more than compensation, right? And so we want to be sure that we look at other things in the plan that will also get us to a place where we can truly revere our educators.
There's also been a lot of talk about AI within CMS. It's obviously changing the way students learn, the way teachers teach. What's your thoughts about incorporating more AI?
Yeah. So I think this is a place where we need to go slow to go fast, right? And so what I mean by that is I do think that there are opportunities for us to engage in artificial intelligence. I like the sort of things that we're doing right now is, as opposed to saying, here is what we're going to do as a district or a state, is to allow individual teachers and other educators sort of explore what some possibilities are, providing guidance at this moment so that they can sort of be sure that they're thinking about a number of things, including ethical responsibilities related to AI. We also want to do that for students to be sure that they're not just trying and doing everything, and that they are also reminded of some ethical issues, right? Because you can allow AI to take over a lot of things that you might have in a prior generation done yourself. And we want to be sure that students understand that you're actually hurting yourself by not doing some of those things. As we get a few years further down the road, the answer might be different, but that's where I would say we are right now, and I feel like that's a good place to be. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned earlier that the goal is to have 89% of students enrolled in public schools, and that's currently at 84%. How has that been impacted by vouchers, opportunity scholarships, whatever you prefer to call them, but how has that played into this, and does that alter things going forward?
Yeah, so I believe that this has been a significant part of where you've seen the decrease in enrollment in public education, I would say, and I call them taxpayer-funded private school vouchers, right? Because I want everyone to be very clear that this is our taxpayer dollars that are being utilized to allow students who attend private schools with these dollars, right? And so this has had an impact. I also want to be sure that we are very clear that this is an opportunity, because now that we're saying folks can choose all sorts of different things, we need to be sure that families are choosing public education. And in order for them to do that, they have to have a couple things. One is they need to know that their child's going to receive an excellent education, that they're going to be safe, and we have to also be sure that the right information about our public schools is getting out there. All of the excellent things that are occurring in our public schools, because part of the narrative is a way of trying to suggest that maybe everything isn't positive. This is a way of being sure that, yes, there are lots of wonderful things going on in our public schools.
We have a question.
Yeah.
So your future educators, we are learning formative assessments, performance tasks, readiness-based assessments, and yet the state hasn't adopted those. They still rely heavily on the A to F system as well as standardized testing. So what are the next steps regarding testing and how we measure performance?
Yeah, so there's actually one of the 110 actions in the strategic plan is to develop a task force around school level accountability. And so that actually is an action that is starting this month. The state board is in the process of naming the task force members, and they'll have really two charges. The first of the charges will be to look at what I call the current system, which has the 80-20, sort of performance, 80%, 20% is growth focused, to look at that and see what adjustments should be made there. And then and that we think will be a positive thing for how our schools are seen, if you will, because many of our schools are making really good growth with students, but maybe their performance isn't to a place where they are given an A or a B grade, right? And then the second thing is this task force has the charge of saying, let's start all the way over. If we were to do this again, now with all that we know, what would we come up with as an accountability system for our students? Right, and so this allows us, I think, to explore lots of different things, including much more sort of formative assessments, things that are helpful to students in the moment that will help them be better as they progress through their educational system, as opposed to where we are now, where we almost feel like this, end of grade assessment or summative assessment is the be-all for everything. So absolutely think that this is an opportunity for us to think really differently about the accountability system for the state of North Carolina schools.
Another question. So I personally really appreciate you coming to speak with us. And I was curious, what experiences or moral pillars and beliefs empower you for this vision and this public service that you're doing as a superintendent?
Yes, sir. So in many ways, I'm doing this in honor of my mother. So you may have heard in her introduction that she was a special education teacher. Just to give you a bit of background so you can understand the context of why I say this is so important. My mother grew up in the United States Virgin Islands. She grew up exceedingly poor. She would share to my brother and me that she grew up where part of her floor in her house was dirt. This was poor, right? But she said it was because of the educators that she was able to live a life that she was able to live, right? That included becoming a nurse when she first moved to New York, becoming a business owner, and then when my father passed away, who was also a business owner, she went back to school to do what she always wanted to do, was to be a teacher. Because she thought that was there was nothing more noble than becoming a teacher. And so I remember when I became a school administrator in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, the folks here in CMS who've been here a long time will know that I said I'm doing this because of my mother, right? Because I want for her, because she always would say, I want to lead a school one day. She never had that opportunity. And so I told her while she was still alive, Mom, you're not getting to lead a school, but I get to be the number 2 in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, which is leading 100+ schools. And then when I became superintendent, Mom, I get to lead 120+ schools. She's passed away, but now I get to lead almost 2,700 schools, right? The second thing I would say is this. She convinced me that this is indeed what it is, right? That teaching is the most noble of professions, and the opportunity to do this on behalf of children is nothing better, right? And so that's what drives me, right? And so this concept of being best in nation, why wouldn't we want that for our children? Why wouldn't we want that for our children? Yes, sir.
Achieving educational excellence heavily discusses improving resources for educators. I was wondering if you could elaborate on how you plan to assess how teachers' needs, both financial and otherwise, are being met as you continue to enact your plan.
Yeah, no, great question. So, there are measures that I think will be very clear and easy to do, and that will be where are we with regards to compensation in comparison to other states, right? And so where I said we want to be best in the Southeast with regards to compensation, it'll be real easy to sort of see where we measure up after the next few years with regards to compensation. Some other things will be a bit more challenging to evaluate, but we'll have, there are teacher working condition surveys. There are other ways for us to have some sense of whether folks are feeling the value that we are trying to be sure that they have, right? And so we'll see how those then metrics show up, right, in what we do. Very good. Thank you. Thank y'all for, yeah.
I know there was a challenge. I am a champion for public education. Talk to me, what does that look like? I know saying it is one thing, but what should people leave the auditorium what does that look like being a champion?
Yeah, so being a champion of public education means a number of different things, and you have to find your lane as to what it means. So in our strategic plan, we talk about a number of different things folks can do. They can be an advocate, right? They can be a thought leader. They can be a supporter, like a service provider. They can be an investor, a funder, if you will. And so everybody is going to have their own lanes as to what makes most sense to them. They can become part of an implementation team for a particular action. It can mean lots of different things, right? And so what that means will be so particular to the individual, but collectively, everybody needs to leave a room like tonight saying, I'm going to do something on behalf of public education, either in my local community or for the region or for the state of North Carolina. Thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks.